Welcome to the documentary In the Studio, which delves into the minds of some of the world's most creative people. I'm Sharuna Sagar, and I've been given exclusive access to arguably Britain's greatest living director, Ken Loach, as he makes his new film, The Old Oak. In part one of my documentary, I joined the veteran filmmaker in pre-production of his last full-length feature.
I think a film like this would be tricky to do again, just because facilities fail a bit. But it's a hard trade to give up, isn't it? Because there's so many stories to tell. So, I don't know, we'll just take it each game as it comes and look forward to the next Saturday.
In this, the second part of my documentary, I follow the filming, the editing and the recording of the soundtrack. It's a fascinating insight into the Loach approach to filmmaking. But what also stands out for me is the bond and the banter between Ken and his loyal team.
It's always more sociable, isn't it, when you're in a group taking the mickey out of each other.
As long as you all agree.
Yeah, well, we always all agree, don't we? I mean,
we always agree that Ken's right.
You see, this is what I have to put up with. There's no respect. The respect's gone out the window.
Our journey begins with the shoot, as I go on location for a couple of days in June 2022. A disused pub in County Durham is the backdrop for this story of two broken communities, an ex-mining one and a Syrian one, forced together and struggling to survive.
It's been nearly 5 weeks since I was in Merton, and I can say the road is as busy as ever, but I'm in front of the Old Oak now, as it's called, and even one of the letters, the K, is artfully hanging off the top, just to give it that authentic, derelict kind of look. Walking through, and the place is absolutely full of stuff. Amongst the pub chairs and the tables, there's equipment, there's wires, and I'm walking through to the bar now, and well, the bar's now looking like a functioning bar. It wasn't the last time I was here.
Standing at the bar is Paul Laverty, the writer of The Old Oak and Ken Loach's long-time collaborator.
You've arrived today in a very, very important scene. And in a way, this is at the heart of our story. And here we are in the wonderful Old Oak, which is not only the last pub in the village, but it's actually the last public space. The library's closed down, even the local school's closed down. Some of the old-timers and the people who have come here all their lives, they feel this is the last place where they can actually think and talk, and so it's very much wrapped up in their own identity. And of course what we have is a Syrian community, another traumatised community, have been sent to some very tough areas, and it's split the community. There are people who welcome them, and there are people who feel that they just can't cope with any new burdens in the services. So I suppose it all comes to fruition here in the Old Oak, where a group of the community have said, come and eat with us. And very much inspired by what happened during the miners' strike is the key idea that if people eat together, they stick together, they look after each other, and it's an invitation to stand in someone else's shoes to try and understand each other.
I realise that I've been trusted with privileged information about the scene because it's more than the cast know at this point. Ken Loach famously doesn't reveal too much to his actors about what's going to happen from one moment to the next. This is because he wants to capture their honest reactions to certain situations.
You just give them the script as it unfolds. If they've got a lot to say, then give it to them in plenty of time so they're not worried about, can I learn this, can I learn that? And if there's a surprise, yeah, you spring it.
Sometimes you don't even know what's going to happen after lunch. There's been a couple of times where I haven't even been sure what's going to happen in the next half hour.
This is Dave Turner, the star of The Old Oak. He plays TJ, the landlord, who's opened up his pub to the Syrian refugees. This has angered some of the locals who are still suffering from the pit closures and the loss of their jobs. Apart from brief appearances in Ken's last two films, Dave has no acting experience, so this role has been one of the greatest challenges of his life.
Some really difficult moments, yeah. But because of the way he deals with you, it somehow gets done. I don't know how, I've tried to think about how it's happened, what's happened, and I can't explain it, and I never will be able to, but there's certainly things happened during filming which I'm still amazed at, and I don't know how he's managed to do what he's done.
He's managed to get you to reach those emotions and portray them on screen. Is that what you mean?
Oh, yeah, I mean, last week was unbelievably difficult days.
Something happened that obviously we can't talk about.
Yeah, this is a Ken Loach film. There's going to be drama and there's ups and downs. And my character's had a series of downs. And last week he had a particularly bad down. And it was incredibly emotional. It was incredibly difficult. Didn't prepare for it because I didn't know it was going to happen. But that's the way that he likes to work, and he wants the instinctive reaction that he gets. As I say, it's an incredible experience. I've got to try and enjoy every minute of it that's left, and I don't let the great man down. Speaking of which...
There he is over there.
Yeah.
Is it your time now?
I don't know. That's what I mean. I don't know. I don't think so.
When the pressure's on, people do respond, and it generates an energy and a creativity and a focus that you wouldn't get if you had 2 days to shoot it. You've got to suggest what people might do if they were in that situation. And they have to say, I would do it this way, and that has to work. The moment you say, do it this way, it becomes mechanical.
A lot of moments, I was me as Ibla. So yeah, it is so personal. Yeah.
The film's female lead is Ebla Murray, who plays Yara, a young Syrian refugee. Her character is a keen amateur photographer who makes sense of the world through her lens.
I feel like her story is different from my story. So the story of her being a refugee and losing her home, losing her father, this is not my story. In the bigger picture, it's also the story of me being not allowed to go to my home, which is Syria, because I'm from the Golan Heights. It's occupied by Israel. Maybe it's the same feeling of loss I can share with her. Not feeling at home even when you are at home, so maybe that.
Many of the supporting cast, though, are actual refugees from the civil war in Syria and have been forced to flee their homes, like Hasna Hassoun, who I meet on set. She lost her young family and 2 of her limbs in an explosion.
When we were in the street, Shelly came, killed my kids and my husband, and I lost my legs. I stayed in hospital 6 months. My son was 3 years and 2 months. Can't hurt anyone. Or my daughter was 1 year and 1 month. Children. But I think so my children now in the heaven.
The United Nations brought Hasna to Durham with her 2 sisters. One of them, Rabia, tells me about resettling in the UK.
It took like around 2 years to be here, between like interviews, medical appointments, and culture trainings, because we had like culture training before we came. And then they said, you are going to England.
Can I ask you about being in this film?
Yeah, sure.
Just tell me, what's it been like for you?
Well, it's the real story of most of the Syrian families, to be honest. So it's how we face like some good people in the area we live here in Durham and bad people, how we integrate in the community as well. So everything is similar to our life here, what we've done through these 6 years.
Everyone seems happy and relaxed. You wouldn't know that we were still in the midst of a pandemic. But as I walk back onto set, Paul Laverty has some bad news.
I think we're playing COVID roulette, unfortunately. Last week we lost a couple of the crew members, and today, unfortunately, we lost an actor who's been a regular in the bar of the Old Oak. He was supposed to be doing a key scene on Monday, so we're going to have to rewrite the scene, and we'll just have to find an excuse why one of the regulars in the bar is no longer here. And so we'll need a rub of the green to get through this safely, I hope, because it would be a disaster if one of the main actors, you know, Yara or TJ or someone like that got it, because it'd be very unfortunate to say the least.
So I leave Paul to pen some new script lines explaining the absence of one of the characters. Filming's now about to begin in the back room.
got to do once more from here, then we shall look at it from over there. Over to you, Yara.
Okay. So we'll come here at the back room of the bar.
While they get ready for a take, I stay in the main bar area with some of the crew.
It's actually quite a good spot here to people watch because there's crews wandering up and down with all kinds of things hanging off their belts. You name it, they've got it here to deal with any eventuality that might happen on a film set.
And it's here I spot Jonathan Morris, who's been working with Ken for more than 40 years.
I usually edit Ken's films, pretty much most of them since 1980, which is a long time. So yeah, and I make an occasional visit on most of the films to have a little chat, meet the crew, just so that people can ask a little bit about what I think of things, because I'm the one watching the rushes generally. It's a chance to touch base and to plan for the edit, I suppose, as well, which is getting nearer.
And when does the editing process start?
Well, Ken's going to have a little break after filming, and filming doesn't actually end until July the 9th, and Ken will come in the cutting room. We'll start working August the 1st.
And how long is that process?
Around about 15 weeks. And then sound editor starts, the composer, George Fenton, starts, who's here, by the way, as well. There he is. And there's George Fenton.
Hello. Hello, George. Your timing is impeccable.
Yes.
Yes, it is. I'm Sharuna from Well Service.
Oh, hello.
And I'm making a documentary about Ken Loach and his new film.
All right.
And your name was just mentioned. Your ears must have been burning.
Amazing.
I'm not trying to get out of everyone's way.
Yes. Yeah, that's what we're doing here, really, yeah.
So have you been involved in this scene right now?
Yes, I've been, because it involves somebody playing music. Otherwise, in terms of the rest of the film, I'm not allowed even to see it until Jonathan says, and Ken say, yeah, you can come in and see it now. And then quite often I don't even read a script. I just turn up and see the film.
And how long do you have to compose the music?
Well, I normally get a weekend, don't I?
You usually sit around for 2 months and then he does it at the weekend.
No, I don't. I generally get a few weeks.
6 weeks.
It's quite a tricky process writing music for Ken's films because he likes the music to be rooted in the reality of the film and that it's not used as a sort of artifice.
We're bound a little bit by social realism rules, so you shouldn't be aware of the camera, you shouldn't be aware of the editing, and you shouldn't be aware of the music.
Yeah.
There should be things that are there, of course they're there, but that you don't notice. So it sometimes
it's true. So
it makes it a little difficult.
Flashy editing.
No. That's why he's got me.
No, that's not what he's got you. But the note of bitterness. You know.
You're listening to the documentary In the Studio from the BBC World Service. I'm Sharuna Sagar, and I've been following the progress of Ken Loach's last ever film, The Old Oak. It's now November, and I've been invited to the cutting room in central London to watch The Old Oak being edited.
Hello?
Hi, Ken.
Yes.
It's Sharuna. I'm
Sharuna.
Hello.
Come in. Ring the bell, say you come to see two pensioners.
Okay, all right.
I go up to the editing suite where I find Ken and Jonathan examining some rushes.
How are you? You all right?
I'm really well.
Good.
Slightly.
Can you hear me? Are you listening through there?
I'm recording all of this, so be careful what you say.
I can't slag him off, you mean, in that case?
We can. I'll have to leave the room.
I see footage of a parade on the monitor and ask Ken what scene he's working on today.
It's the last few shots of the film, and it's the Durham Miners' Gala. The point is to capture the strength and energy and sense of optimism that you get from people gathered together in vast numbers, all committed to the same progressive ideas. So we're cutting like a documentary where you find little moments that just hang together and give an impression of the march, and it'll probably have the end roller over it.
The end roller is film speak for the closing credits, by the way, and what Ken and Jonathan are looking for are shots of a banner that they had made specially for that scene, one that's held aloft during the march.
We delayed because there was another shot,
good.
similar,
Good. Yeah.
band walking towards us.
Good. I know what it is. I know where it is.
As they work, I notice how at ease they are in each other's company and how in tune they are with the overall vision.
Great minds, you see. It's not usually this efficient.
No. Well, we're making the effort, aren't we?
Yeah, I know.
When Ken nips out, I take the opportunity to talk to Jonathan about the editing process.
How many versions are there of the final film? How many cuts do you get through?
Well, I've got a sheet of paper here and we can have a look, really. And we've got 6 at the moment. We're on cut 6. Currently, the film is 115 minutes, 25 seconds and 23 frames, to be precise. So we've come down by 31 and 5, 36 minutes. It's 36 minutes shorter than the first cut.
So, do you disagree? What's he like? What's he like in the cutting room?
Well, it's not my job to disagree, really. It's my job to put together the film that the director wants, whoever that director is. An editor can influence a director, perhaps better by not disagreeing, but just by chatting and working away at him.
Oh, Ken's coming back into the room.
Right. Stop talking about him.
Yeah.
It was all good things, Ken, don't worry.
I can't believe that. You're just saying that.
And when Jonathan takes a break, I'm able to ask Ken about their relationship.
Jonathan is a key man, really. I can say it since he's not here to embarrass him, but we started working together in 1979, God help us. Jonathan does the work. I mean, we just sit and chat and, I tune into the cricket from time to time and get the score. In fact, I haven't done it today. I need to know whether New Zealand are beating Pakistan. Again, like with everyone, you have to have a hinterland. You can't talk about the work every second of the day. There's a whole hinterland of other things you're interested in. Like by osmosis, that spills into how you view what you're looking at on the screen. But again, the rhythm of cutting is the key thing. That should be like the human eye in the corner of the room. You look at something different when you hear a sound or when someone throws the ball of conversation over and that person is then expected to speak. You cut at the point the human eye would move. And it's to do with a kind of human rhythm. And the human rhythm of editing should echo the human sound you hear, the humanity of the shots you construct, and at essence, the story you're trying to tell.
Sorry. Are you okay?
I'm all right.
Okay, sorry.
I just thought I'd look in. That was all.
Yeah.
Can I stay?
Of course.
Yeah, okay.
Take a seat.
Oh, come on. Oh, we haven't talked about the editor yet, have we?
Have you not?
No. Ask me again.
So
Ask me about his shorts.
Now I have them both together, I want to know what happens next after they finish this final scene.
We'll look at what we've done, which is far too long now because we've assembled it all, and then work on it probably for another 10 days, week to 10 days. See what we've got, really.
Well, it's lunchtime now, so I'll let you go and have your break, and I will see you next time.
Okay, see you next time.
The next time is the final stage of the creative process, the music, composed by George Fenton. I eavesdrop on the recording as Ken sits in the booth, listening intently and giving notes.
Because the cellos are good, because there's something quite ecclesiastical about them, isn't it?
Exactly. It is very churchy. But it sounds great, George. It sounds good, yeah.
Afterwards, I talked to George about working with Ken.
This is, I think, the 18th film I've done of his. I've never obviously worked for anybody as many times as I've worked for him.
And unlike anyone else that you work with as a director?
Unlike anybody else. If you write a score for a Hollywood film, then there's a lot of micromanaging of all the process in films. Ken does micromanage in many ways. I mean, he is very, very detailed in what he does. But the great thing about him is that if he responds well to something, you can rely on it.
It's something really awe-inspiring, and I think there's that hushed So it's an intake of breath.
Yeah.
Feeling for the audience. And
he's a good pair of ears. He's very musical. He's very, very quick to identify the one that is the old oak.
I think it's to do with the length of the note itself. I mean, I may be wrong.
No,
it may not work.
I mean, I think he's doing that deliberately.
Yes.
So
it sits in the silence more, rather than it being continuous, if you know what I mean.
I mean, Ken doesn't like music for music's sake, and he doesn't need it as an extra character to tell you a scene is scary or it's time to laugh. So on this particular film, he didn't want a lot of music, did he?
He doesn't have a lot of music in his films. You know, there's gaps. Very often when I score a film, there's hardly any gaps. It's music from the beginning to the end. And in his films, because there are gaps, he's very sensitive, and I am too very sensitive when I'm working with him, about the precision of when the music starts and stops. In his films, the music stops when things hot up, you know, if there's an action sequence, because he likes the audience to feel the same experience of sound as the characters are experiencing.
Great stuff, thank you.
Okay. We done it? Is that everything?
Yeah, I think he's played all the notes that he's had.
He's played all the notes.
Yeah, very good. And in the right order.
In the right order.
The Old Oak was completed in April 2023, just in time to be nominated for the Palme d'Or at the prestigious Cannes Film Festival. That's the official premiere, but it's not the movie's first screening. That honour goes to an independent cinema in Newcastle upon Tyne, some 20 miles away from the film's central location. I'm in the back of a taxi and I'm on the way to the Tyneside cinema. I'm actually very excited because I'm going to see the film along with the cast and crew. It's a special screening just for them so they can get a first look at the film before it goes to Cannes. On entering the cinema, I bump into some familiar faces, including Ken, Paul and Rebecca O'Brien, the producer. Fancy meeting you here. From my seat, I can see people I recognise from in front of and behind the camera, all with their eyes fixed to the screen. The film was hard-hitting and heartbreaking, but it also had some hope. Once the credits rolled, I approached the star of the film to get his immediate reaction.
Hello again.
Here we go. Dave. So what was it like seeing yourself up there? You are now a proper actor.
No,
you are.
No, you've said this just before, and I'm not. No, I'm not. I got through because of Ken Loach and because of the people there.
But I've just seen you on the big screen now,
yeah.
And you are a proper actor.
Well, that's very, very kind of you, but I've seen proper actors and how they do it, and I couldn't do that. What I did was, it was different.
I'm also curious to know how the Hassoun sisters feel now they've watched the film.
Actually, good, but I have 3 scenes, important scenes, got in the film. I don't know why, but I feel not good because I would like to see what I said.
It's difficult, Hasna.
It's difficult.
Yeah, but it's good film, very important.
The most important thing, it's the main point of the film, actually. People will understand our feeling as well. So.
Rebecca O'Brien's no stranger to these kind of responses. All Ken's films feature first-time actors, from Kes to I. Daniel Blake, so she knows what the cast are experiencing.
I think it's always difficult for people to see themselves on screen, and they get quite a shock, and I think in a way they almost don't see it properly until they see it again, because they're just looking out for themselves and seeing themselves. But people seem to really enjoy it, and they were very emotional, and no, I'm delighted with the reaction. I really am.
The last word has to go to Ken, and I managed to grab a moment with him.
I know you're very busy. I just want to know, how do you feel now you've had your first screening with the cast and crew?
Well, it's quite a strong emotional response, really. It's difficult because the people who created it, scene by scene, some have quite an emotional response, which is understandable, and
it's always complex because people are seeing themselves. I mean, my hope is that we just did them justice because they're an extraordinary group of people, and the Syrians have such stories to tell, and you can only tell a fraction of that in the film.
Thank you so much, Ken. I'll let you get back to your cast and crew party.
Okay, all right.
Thank you.
This private showing for the people who made the film is the most important one for Ken and his team, not least because at the ripe old age of 87, he's now facing the very real prospect that this is his last film.
I think there reaches a point when you have to accept the inevitable and hang up wherever film directors hang up.
We've been here before. Is this going to be your last film?
Who knows, but I can't imagine another one at the moment.
You always say that though, Ken.
Well, yeah, but there comes a time when Father Time takes its toll, you know.
And it looks as though that time has finally come. But the Old Oak, with its uncharacteristic optimism for a Loach film, feels like a fitting finale to Ken's extraordinary 6 decades at the coalface of British social realist cinema. You've been listening to the documentary In the Studio from the BBC World Service. The programme was produced by Stephen Hughes and me, Sharuna Sagar.
This is the BBC World Service, the world's radio station.